The American housing market. For decades, it has been the cornerstone of wealth, the anchor of the middle class, and the dream every family aspired to achieve. Owning a home wasn't just about four walls and a roof. It was a symbol of stability, security, and success. But today, that dream feels more fragile than ever. Prices have skyrocketed to unprecedented heights. Wages haven't kept pace. Mortgage rates, once at historic lows, have doubled in just a few short years. And now, the cracks are starting to spread. Across the United States, the early warning signs of a housing bubble collapse are flashing bright red. This isn't speculation. It's happening right now. Families who stretched their budgets to buy at the peak are suddenly struggling. Investors who bet on endless growth are pulling out. And states that built entire economies on real estate expansion are about to face a reckoning. The collapse won't hit everywhere equally. Some states are far more vulnerable than others. From unsustainable booms to overvalued markets, these are the places where the bubble is about to burst first and hardest. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to Discover the Nation. We dive deep into the hidden realities shaping America's housing market, economy, and communities. If you want to stay ahead of what's coming, you won't want to miss our upcoming breakdowns. Now, let's count down the 10 states where the housing bubble is about to burst.
Number 10. Nevada. Nevada has always been a place of extremes. Its deserts hide fortunes, its casinos promise luck, and its cities grow faster than the infrastructure can keep up with. Las Vegas and Reno became magnets for migration over the last decade as Californians and others sought affordability and a new start. But that growth has come with a dangerous price. Home prices in Nevada skyrocketed. In Las Vegas alone, median prices surged by nearly 40% in just a few short years. Reno, often called the next Silicon Valley satellite, saw even sharper gains. But the problem is simple. Wages haven't followed. While tech workers and retirees from out-of-state pushed prices higher, locals, who make up the majority of Nevada's workforce, are being left behind. And then there's the volatility. Nevada's economy is tied heavily to tourism and entertainment. The pandemic proved how fragile that dependence is, with unemployment soaring to nearly 30%, the highest in the nation. When visitors stay away, jobs vanish, and suddenly mortgages go unpaid. Today, with consumer debt climbing and recession fears looming, that same vulnerability threatens to trigger another housing collapse. Investors see it too. During the boom, institutional buyers scooped up thousands of homes, turning neighborhoods into rental hubs. But now, many of those investors are pulling out, flooding the market with listings and putting downward pressure on prices. Already, homes that once sold in days now linger on the market for months. Water scarcity adds yet another layer of risk. Las Vegas and Reno rely heavily on the Colorado River, which has reached dangerously low levels. If growth slows due to water limits, demand for housing will shrink even further. Nevada has reinvented itself before, but the signs are clear. Its housing market is stretched thin, overvalued, and vulnerable. When the bubble bursts, Nevada may once again find itself at the epicenter of America's housing crash.
Number 9. Arizona. Arizona knows the pain of a housing collapse all too well. In 2008, Phoenix became one of the ground zero cities of the Great Recession, with foreclosures devastating entire neighborhoods. And yet, history may be about to repeat itself. During the pandemic, Arizona's housing market became red hot. Phoenix, Scottsdale, and Tucson saw some of the fastest appreciation in the country, with home values nearly doubling in less than a decade. Bidding wars became the norm, investors flooded in, and locals were quickly priced out of their own neighborhoods. But the fundamentals were always shaky. Arizona's median income lags behind the national average, and jobs in many areas pay far less than what's needed to afford a median-priced home. Mortgage rates rising by even a few percentage points has been enough to push thousands of potential buyers out of the market. Today, sales are slowing, Inventory is building, and price cuts are spreading across Metro Phoenix. The rental market shows cracks as well. Investors bought up massive swaths of housing to turn into rentals, but as vacancies rise and rents stagnate, many are rushing to sell. This oversupply could trigger a downward spiral, just as it did in 2008. Arizona also faces long-term sustainability challenges. Water shortages on the Colorado River threaten both development and agriculture, two major economic drivers. With population growth slowing and affordability collapsing, Arizona's boom looks more like a bubble ready to burst. If you think Nevada's risks were high, Arizona may be even more vulnerable. And remember, if you're finding this analysis eye-opening, subscribe to Discover the Nation. Every week, we break down the forces shaping America's housing future.
Number 8. Florida. Florida has been one of the hottest housing markets in America and one of the most unstable. Miami, Tampa, and Orlando became playgrounds for investors and retirees, with home prices soaring far beyond what local incomes can support. The Sunshine State became a magnet for out-of-state buyers fleeing high-tax states, and developers rushed to build luxury condos and gated communities. But beneath the surface, Florida's housing market is reaching a breaking point. Insurance has become a nightmare. Hurricanes and rising seas have driven insurers out of the state, leaving homeowners with skyrocketing premiums, in many cases higher than their mortgage payments. Without affordable insurance, thousands of homes risk becoming unlivable and unsellable. At the same time, inventory is piling up. Builders added supply at a pace fueled by speculative demand, but now, as buyers retreat, homes sit unsold. Condos that once commanded bidding wars are seeing price reductions, and the pace of sales has slowed dramatically. Florida's population growth is often seen as a safety net, but if affordability collapses and storms keep pushing costs higher, even new arrivals may hesitate. For investors, the math no longer works. Rental yields are falling, costs are climbing, and climate risks are accelerating. The Sunshine State has weathered bubbles before, but this time the risks are more structural. If the housing bubble bursts, Florida could be hit harder than almost anywhere else in the nation.
Number 7. Idaho. Idaho's housing story reads like a cautionary tale. Once one of America's most affordable states, it became a magnet for migration during the pandemic. Boise, in particular, turned into a real estate frenzy, with Californians and others flooding in. Prices surged more than 60% in just a few years, making Boise one of the most overvalued markets in the country. But that rapid rise has left Idaho dangerously exposed. Local wages are far too low to support the new price levels. Many longtime residents are priced out, while newcomers are beginning to question whether Idaho's appeal justifies its inflated costs. As demand slows, sellers are cutting prices aggressively, and homes that once sold in days now sit for months. Boise's boom was driven by speculation as much as by migration. Investors bought up properties expecting endless appreciation. But as mortgage rates rise, that speculative demand has dried up. Inventory is climbing, and builders are scaling back projects as the market cools. Idaho may continue to grow in population, but its housing market has reached a tipping point. Without wage growth to support these prices, the bubble here is ready to pop. And when it does, Idaho could become one of the hardest-hit states in America.
Number 6. Colorado. Colorado's natural beauty and booming cities have made it one of America's most desirable states. But that desirability has created a dangerous imbalance. Denver, Boulder, and Colorado Springs are now among the least affordable metro areas in the country, with home prices soaring far beyond the reach of the average family. During the pandemic, the influx of remote workers from high-cost states supercharged demand, but now the same remote work trend is leaving commercial districts hollow and destabilizing local economies. The warning signs are everywhere. Mortgage applications have plunged, homes are staying on the market longer, and sellers are forced into price cuts that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. In Boulder, million-dollar homes that once sparked bidding wars now languish unsold. In Denver, families are paying nearly 50% of their income just to cover housing costs. Property taxes and insurance premiums are also climbing, adding to the strain. With Colorado prone to wildfires and hailstorms, insurers are raising rates or pulling out, making ownership even less affordable. New construction, which raced ahead during the boom, is now colliding with falling demand, creating a glut of unsold inventory. The parallels to 2008 are unmistakable. Overvaluation, speculative development, and rising debt loads. If the national economy slows or unemployment ticks up, Colorado could face one of the steepest housing corrections in the nation. What was once marketed as a state of opportunity could quickly turn into a cautionary tale of unsustainable growth.
Number 5. Utah. Utah's rise as a housing hotspot has been meteoric. For decades, the state was known for its affordability, family-friendly culture, and strong economy. But over the past 10 years, and especially during the pandemic, Utah's housing market exploded. Salt Lake City, Provo, and Ogden became magnets for tech workers and families fleeing pricier states, driving prices to levels that stunned even longtime residents. In many neighborhoods, homes doubled in value in under a decade. Yet what once looked like unstoppable growth has now hit a breaking point. Inventory is surging as sellers rush to cash in, while buyers retreat under the weight of rising mortgage rates. Salt Lake City, once ranked among the hottest housing markets in the nation, is now leading in price cuts. Properties that once sparked fierce competition now sit on the market with slashed prices and few offers. The fundamentals simply don't add up. While Utah's unemployment remains low and its tech sector continues to grow, household incomes cannot justify current home values. Investors who poured in during the boom are retreating, leaving neighborhoods with excess supply. Builders who once raced to meet demand are slowing projects as unsold homes pile up. Utah's population will keep growing, but growth alone cannot sustain such inflated prices. If interest rates stay high or the economy dips, Utah could see one of the sharpest and fastest housing corrections in the entire country. For a state once celebrated as a model of stability, the coming downturn could be a harsh awakening.
Number 4. California. California has long been the symbol of both opportunity and excess, and nowhere is that clearer than in its housing market. From Los Angeles to San Francisco, median home prices hover above $800,000, while wages for most workers stagnate. For millions of families, the dream of homeownership has become impossible, fueling both frustration and outmigration. For decades, tech wealth and foreign investment helped California defy gravity, but now cracks are spreading. Remote work has hollowed out downtown districts, leaving office towers in San Francisco half empty. Tech layoffs at companies like Google, Meta, and Salesforce have dampened demand, and even wealthy buyers are hesitating. Meanwhile, more than 300,000 Californians leave the state every year, chasing affordability in places like Texas, Arizona, and Idaho. Homelessness has surged to crisis levels, creating visible humanitarian challenges on city streets. Luxury condos that once sold instantly now sit unsold, as even high-income buyers balk at inflated prices and rising interest rates. Builders are slowing new projects, and developers warn that financing is drying up. The stakes in California are higher than anywhere else. Its real estate market is the largest in the nation, and a collapse here would ripple across banks, pension funds, and investors worldwide. The Golden State has weathered many crises, but its housing bubble is different. It's larger, more entrenched, and more disconnected from reality. When it bursts, it won't just reshape California. It could reshape the entire U.S. economy.
Number 3. Texas. Texas has long branded itself as the land of affordability and opportunity, but that narrative is fading fast. Austin, once hailed as the crown jewel of tech migration, is now one of the most overvalued housing markets in America. Home prices doubled in less than a decade, fueled by an influx of remote workers, investors, and companies relocating from California and beyond. But what was once a boom is rapidly turning into a bubble. Sales are slowing across the state, inventory is swelling, and price cuts are accelerating. In Austin, homes that were selling above list price a year ago are now seeing 10 to 20% reductions. Dallas and Houston are not far behind, with affordability collapsing and buyers retreating. The speculative frenzy that once drove rapid appreciation is now reversing, leaving many homeowners who bought at the peak in danger of falling underwater. Even Texas's strong job growth and population inflows cannot offset the fundamentals. Wages have failed to keep pace with skyrocketing housing costs. Investors who once viewed Texas real estate as bulletproof are reassessing, pulling back from risky projects and speculative flips. The Lone Star State is still growing, but its housing market faces a harsh correction. For a state that built its identity on wide-open opportunity, the reality is shifting. The bubble is not just about overpriced homes. It's about whether Texas can continue to deliver on its promise of affordability. If the correction is as deep as many fear, Texas may be forced to rewrite its story.
Number 2, Washington. Washington's housing market, centered on Seattle, was once considered unstoppable. For years, the state rode a wave of tech wealth. Amazon, Microsoft, and countless startups created an engine of prosperity that pushed home prices sky high. The influx of high-paying jobs transformed Seattle into one of the most expensive places to live in America. For homeowners, it felt like wealth without limits. But the same engine that powered the boom is now threatening to tear the market apart. Tech layoffs are spreading. Amazon has slowed its hiring machine. Microsoft has trimmed thousands of jobs, and venture-backed startups are folding under tighter capital markets. Remote work, once a temporary solution, has become permanent for many. Office towers that once bustled with energy are now half empty, dragging down surrounding businesses, from coffee shops to restaurants to small retailers. Downtown Seattle, once buzzing with energy, feels hollow, a symptom of a deeper economic malaise. Meanwhile, housing numbers tell a grim story. Seattle remains one of the most overvalued markets in the country, with home prices far out of line with local incomes. Inventory is climbing month after month. Price cuts are widespread, and sellers who once entertained bidding wars are now desperate for offers. Mortgage rates, hovering at historic highs, have only deepened the slowdown. Beyond economics, quality of life challenges are eroding confidence. Homelessness has surged, crime is more visible, and rising costs are pushing families into neighboring states. Outmigration, once unthinkable in a booming tech hub, is accelerating, with families seeking relief in Idaho, Montana, and beyond. Every household that leaves adds to the housing overhang, pushing the market closer to a correction. Washington's reliance on tech makes it uniquely exposed to downturns. If the industry stagnates or contracts further, the ripple effects could devastate the housing market, public finances, and local economies alike. The state's bubble is thin and fragile, and if it bursts, years of unsustainable gains could vanish almost overnight, leaving Seattle as the poster child of America's next housing collapse.
Number 1. Oregon. Oregon's housing market stands at the very edge of the cliff, and the warning signs could not be clearer. Portland, once celebrated as a haven of affordability and livability, has become one of the least affordable cities in the nation. Home prices surged during the pandemic, driven by migration from California and speculative buying. Investors treated Oregon like the next great frontier of real estate wealth. But now, the frenzy has cooled, and what remains is a fragile, overpriced market on the verge of collapse. The challenges stack up quickly. Portland faces a trifecta of rising crime, visible homelessness, and persistent outmigration. Families and young professionals who once saw the city as a dream destination are packing up and leaving.
Demand is evaporating while inventory builds relentlessly. Homes that once sparked bidding wars now linger, unsold, even after multiple price cuts. Investors who once poured into Oregon are pulling back. New construction projects are being canceled or delayed as developers struggle with high costs and shrinking demand. Financing has dried up, leaving half-built projects as stark reminders of an overheated market. But Oregon's vulnerabilities go beyond economics. The state has developed a reputation problem. Once seen as an affordable alternative to California, it is now viewed as an overpriced, unstable market plagued by social challenges. This shift in perception is accelerating out-migration and weakening confidence, creating a feedback loop that pushes prices down even further. What makes Oregon so risky is the convergence of pressures: overvaluation, weak wage growth, investor retreat, and declining livability. Few other states combine so many red flags at once. When the bubble bursts, and every sign suggests it will, Oregon could suffer one of the deepest housing collapses in the nation. Homeowners, investors, and entire communities may face losses that take decades to recover.
From Nevada's speculative boom to Oregon's fragile foundation, these 10 states reveal just how unstable America's housing market has become. The question isn't whether the bubble will burst, it's how soon and how devastating it will be. Some states may weather the storm. Others may see entire economies reshaped. But one thing is clear: the era of endless appreciation is over, and the new reality will be far harsher. Make sure you subscribe to Discover the Nation, because the housing story of America is only beginning, and we'll be here to uncover every chapter.